and welcome back to Hope from Home, the show where we bring you conversations of hope from our home to yours. Today, Jermaine speaks with Dominic D'Souza of Smart Catholics about an online conference they just organized. Louisa then learns all about the work of the Loretto Sisters in Toronto and how they've continued during this time. And then we have a conversation about mental health and depression. Deacon Pedro speaks with Catholic singer-songwriter David Wang of the band Critical Mass about their latest release. And of course, they all tell us where they're finding hope from our home to yours.
Hi there, Dominic. Welcome to Hope from Home.
Thanks for having me, Jermaine. Great to be with you.
So recently you founded and ran an online Catholic conference called A Renewed Hope. What inspired you to create this conference? Can you speak to its importance to the Catholic community and the importance of digital communications for the Catholic community right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So reason for the title is a conversation I was having with a friend about how so many, especially young Catholics, but a lot of Catholics are, leaving the faith, checking out. And it just really became clear to me that a lot of people leave the faith because they're not really checked in to begin with. So all they need is like an excuse or a reason to not come back, you know? So like many of us are just habituated to the sacraments. There's no deep sort of interior relationship, happening. They're not showing up basically for the right reasons. It's just my parents did it, I'm used to doing it. But then something like COVID hits or a national crisis hits and it's like, well, it's not really that important. So I'm just, I don't have to do that anymore, right? And then the problem that sort of happens, that just sort of compiles, is when you stop being connected to the sacraments, to the life of faith, to that sort of the Catholic community, the Catholic education, when you're not checked in, well, you're not tapping into the life of grace, the life of God that he wants us to be enjoying today in the here and now. So I felt, well, we need to give people a reason to get excited about being Catholic again. So Renewed Hope, hey, I'm a Star Wars fan, tapped into a little bit of that fun. And I wanted to pull together, a batch of speakers who could share their excitement for why they're Catholic today and why people should take it seriously and commit to it and fully check back into it again. So
what was the general feedback that people had for when they checked in over the weekend?
Well, it was particularly cool. The majority of them loved the sense of community, right? Half of the speakers they'd never heard of. So they loved the new insights, that came from them. But by and large, the emails that I got back from people and then just the comments left throughout the event was the sense of renewal. They loved that the excitement that they got, which was exactly what I hoped to bring them, and it worked, So what it means to be Catholic today is different to maybe what our parents and grandparents were used to. The culture's changed, the expectations have changed, and so I think renewal is a huge part of what it means to be Catholic, always in that state. Our bodies are in that state, constantly renewing atoms, renewing molecules, cells, and so on. Well, today, the culture is in such a weird place like we've never known in the past. So we also have to cultivate that too. And sometimes you can lose hope. You lose your excitement because everything seems to be against you. And that's why I love some of the attitudes that the speakers gave, which was, we need to be cultural mystics. What is a mystic? It's somebody who sees beyond the material and can see the reality behind everything. So someone who can see the workings of grace or the finger of God working, no matter how bad things are, we're able to sort of see, pierce the veil and see how God is working. That's the kind of attitude we're called to have. And it was just so wonderful to have the speakers embrace that and share a lot of that. To share your witness, but also live your own life.
That sounds like it was a truly pivotal and powerful moment for you. You said that you grew up, you're a cradle Catholic, so obviously born and raised into it. But as you go into adulthood, you must have found your why. In your conference, I know there's the big question, overarching question of why are you Catholic? Obviously, as you said, cradle Catholic, but why are you Catholic?
It's kind of like asking me, why do you love your wife? It's like, well, let me count the ways. There are so many reasons. I think I have to go back to, I think it was Chesterton who said something like, being Catholic is not a pair of glasses you put on that makes sense of the world. It becomes when you take off the glasses and start trying to see the world, for what it is. In that sense, I have a respect for how I think it's like the Buddhists, they say, we're not a religion. We are a discipline for interacting with reality as it is. Now, whether that's true or not is another discussion. It's the same way that when you truly come to the heart and guts of what it is to be Catholic, you begin to realize this is not something you pick and choose. Being Catholic is as scientific and as real as understanding physics and how the atoms work and how time works. And, so it's not a religion that you sort of choose because, it makes sense. It's something that grabs you and you begin to realize there's nothing else that takes the totality of our reality and all of the hunger and the needs of the human heart, and has to be capable of embracing everybody throughout all of time. There are few other religions that hit those four marks of being one, holy, sanctifying the human person for relationship with God, Catholic and universal. Not every other religion can do that. That's why those four marks are just incredible indicators of where the truth is found. And then apart from that, you have discovering the revelations of God, sort of coming back from the great beyond and bridging us to him, and deep heaven and eternity. Once I started discovering and reading and learning about that, then it's like, I can't not, take it more seriously.
A quick question for you, something, obviously right now we're going through very interesting times with COVID, and depending on where we are geographically, we're impacted differently. But something that unites us is hope. And I'd love to know, what is your hope for people?
We need to be cultural mystics, like Sister Nancy from the conference was saying. We need to be able to see as the mystics see, living out of that relationship with Christ that gives us the confidence to be calm and centered, to be magnetic, to see the excitement that being Catholic brings to life, because that is the huge problem. We have all of these incredible gifts in the First World West, and yet the majority of young people have lost the will to live. So we need to, for ourselves, we must get that back, so that when people look at us, it's like the ancient Romans, they're like, I want what you have. I don't have that zest for life. I want that. So I think that is our calling for us Catholics in the First World, especially.
It's an incredible hope for people. A tall order, but conferences like yours really create space for people to sit and talk and reflect on what it is to be Catholic, and figuring out ways to act that love out to others, because that's a big piece. So thank you for your time, and I really appreciate it, and look forward to the next conference filled with hope.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for having me, Jermaine.
Welcome.
Hi, Sister Evanne. So nice to see you.
Thank you.
So you're a Loretto sister with the Institute of the Blessed Virgin Mary.
Yep.
Could you briefly talk about the mission of the Loretto Sisters?
Okay. So we Loretto Sisters in Canada are part of a worldwide religious congregation founded by a remarkable English woman in 1609. She felt a call from God to start a new kind of religious congregation for women without being within cloister. Mm-hmm. She also wanted to educate young women in order to preserve the faith, which was very much under threat at her time, and also to enable women to take their rightful place in both the church and in society where they thought women should be seen and not heard.
Mhm.
So obviously, this revolutionary idea encountered a lot of opposition. And although she worked very hard for a number of years and established schools and convents, the Vatican ordered all of them closed and her members dispersed. So when she died in 1645, she felt she had not achieved what God called her to do. But it turns out that that wasn't true, because small groups of women somehow managed to continue to work and to live together. They couldn't call her their founder, but they carried on anyway. And women, young women attracted by Mary Ward's vision, joined them over the years until today. Mary Ward Sisters are still carrying out her vision and her mission in about 14 countries all around the world.
Wow.
And a big focus for us right now is the plight of refugees, and also trying to respond to Pope Francis' call in Laudato Si to the cry of the earth and the cry of the poor.
Wow.
That's what we're about.
Very recently, Mass was celebrated for the graduates of Loretto Abbey, but also other schools affiliated with Loretto Sisters and Mary Ward. So not in person, but virtually through the daily TV Mass. So what usually happens during the students' graduation, and why was it so important for you all to conclude this milestone with the Mass?
It's part of the traditional rite of graduation in Loretto schools, as much a part of it as the actual graduation ceremony itself, and the prom and all those other things that go with graduation. And because we couldn't do it in the chapel at the Abbey, I thought, why not talk to Mike Walsh and see if we can do a TV Mass? So that's how it was initiated. So the Mass is always an opportunity for the girls to gather for the last time with their friends and with their teachers who mentored and nourished and guided them for 4 years. And then they're sent out at the end of Mass, or sort of commissioned. The priest usually says to love and serve your God. But I say that it's to use their gifts and talents and the experience that they've gained through their education to do whatever they can in whatever small way they can to make the world a better place for everyone. So that's how I see it.
Yeah, beautiful. And I actually tuned in to that daily TV Mass. So it was
did you?
nice.
Cardinal did a good job.
Do you have any advice that maybe you'd like to impart to other graduates, whether that's from elementary school or high school or post-secondary? Because June tends to be that month where a lot of these milestones happen. So do you have any advice that you'd like to impart to them?
Well, I'm often invited to speak, especially at the Abbey, and my message is always the same. First of all, to help the graduates and the students generally to understand what a privilege and gift it is to have a free Catholic education, because it's a luxury in many parts of the world. But to remember that with privilege comes responsibility. You'll inevitably meet obstacles, we always do. But hopefully your faith in God, nurtured in your years in Catholic school and by your parents, will enable you to hang on to your dreams like Mary Ward did, to surmount the difficulties and to stay true to yourself and to your values. And then I remind them that as Catholic students planning for their life ahead, the question they should be asking themselves is not, what do I want to do with my life? The question should be, as it was for Mary Ward, what is God's deep dream for me? What is God calling me to do? What is my vocation? Why am I here? And then the final one is from Mary Ward, and her challenge to her followers was always to live so that they would be doers of justice and lovers of truth, and to be in right relationship always with themselves, with yourself, with other people, with God, and with the planet. Now, we know enough to know that we have to do that too. So that would be my advice.
Beautiful advice, sister. Thank you for sharing that. I actually, the spirituality of the Loretto Sisters is kind of inspired by the Ignatian spirituality of finding God in all things. So in this unique time that we're in right now, we're kind of still in quarantine, but slowly reopening. How have you found God during this time?
Well, I think I can say that I'm finding God very much at work in the world today. In the many conversations that people are having about how the world will never be the same after COVID-19. And then that leads to the question of how will the world be different? And what have we learned that leads us to understand that things have to change? And what are we being called to do in order to make that change that we see is necessary? So it really seems to me that God's telling us something about what we're doing to each other and to the planet that isn't right, that isn't just, and it's not sustainable, and that the consequences are things that we don't want. And it seems that God's telling us that we're not in control. No matter how many polls you take, you're still not in control as we may think we are. And then God seems to be telling us that we're not islands, either individually, nationally, or even internationally. And what happens in one part of the world affects us all. And we need to be careful about that. And all of this gives me hope for humanity and hope for the whole of creation, and hope that we will decide to work together to make the world a better place for everybody, not just for a privileged few, and the way that God probably wants it to be. So I'm finding God very much at work in the world today, and it gives me great hope for the future.
I think we're all just collectively feeling the aches and pains of the body of Christ right now. We're all experiencing the same conditions, have the same worries and fears and dreams and hopes. Mm-hmm. So with that, I just want to say thank you, sister, for talking with me and chatting with me about what's going on in the world right now and in the Loretto Sisters. Yeah, thank you, and God bless.
You too. Thank you.
David Wang, it's so good to see you and great to have you with us today.
Oh, it's wonderful to be here, there, sort of. It's hard
You're
to say what
there,
it is
there,
now,
I'm
pandemic.
here. David, I think a lot of our viewers will recognize you. They know you as the you're a singer-songwriter, frontman of the band, the Catholic rock band, Canadian Catholic rock band, Critical Mass. Recently, you wrote a song. I guess maybe not that recently. You'll tell us, but recently you released it, and the song is called "Misery, My Friend." I'm just going to read a little bit of the beginning of the song so that people get a sense of what the song is about. You put the sour in lemonade. You cover the sun just to make it gray, reminding me I'm underpaid. My life's a bore each day. It doesn't sound like misery is a very good friend. What inspired you to write this song?
So a lot of people, when they look at my life, a university professor, father of 9, strong Catholic household, they think, oh, everything's roses. But what people don't realize is I've gone through quite a lot of lows to go with those highs. I'm actually recently divorced. I had to go through a bankruptcy. I actually had a house destroyed in a flood. So I've had to deal with a lot of hardship. And when you have hardship, you get anxious, you have depression, and I've had to deal with that. And one of the things I've wanted to do with this song, and actually this was written many years ago when I was dealing with a lot of these issues, I write for therapy. And one of the things I decided to do was to personify misery as that friend that never leaves you, right? So depression, I call depression misery, and that friend is like that friend you have that is no good for you but always hangs around and just keeps wrecking your time. You just can't seem to get rid of them. That just keep following you around. And so I decided to use that as sort of a metaphor for dealing with mental health issues and depression and anxiety.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but it's you say it's a metaphor, but is it? I mean, it is really like a friend. I mean, it's a friend that
I wouldn't say friend, but a companion.
A companion. Yeah. Tell me more about that. that darkness that you can't, because it's not always just caused by bad things happening. It's an illness.
In my case, it was more caused by sort of being hit by all of these things. But I've had family members who've dealt with depression, and it is a mental health issue. They can't get rid of it. So I've seen it, in me and in others. And yeah, it's something that doesn't go away. And people have often asked me, like, why didn't you put a happy ending to it? Why didn't you put, find Jesus and it'll all be good? I think that would have made that song very unauthentic, because I think a lot of people, it doesn't go away. It is something that you have to live with all your life and deal with properly.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, but at the same time, the music is very upbeat and happy music.
That's right, and that's on purpose. I wanted to have that irony, because I really believe you can have, depression and anxiety as long as you deal with it properly. If you get a group of friends that you talk to, that you're accountable for, if you go and get counseling, if you seek help, you can live with depression as a companion, and you can do it with a bounce in your step. The song is very bouncy. A lot of people say, hey, it makes me want to dance, and that's why, I wanted to convey that message of hope through the rhythm of the music, but not put a corny, happy ending on it, because for a lot of people dealing with depression, that's not what happens.
Yeah, it's an ongoing journey. You said you wrote the song a few years ago, but you chose to release it now during this time. Why?
Oh my goodness, you read in the paper about all the people who are, lonely, isolated. My dad's a senior. I can't see him. I can only video chat, but he has dementia, so sometimes he can't even use his iPad. How lonely he is, and you hear about front line workers committing suicide. You hear about pastors committing suicide. We're living a crazy time, and with the recent riots and the killing of George Floyd, I think these are all symptoms of a society that's just, doesn't know how to cope. And I thought this would be a good time for me to take this song and create the video that goes with it, and put some messages at the end to get people to go for help if they are feeling at all overwhelmed.
So you hope that the song will reach someone. Maybe someone's watching right now and they're going through these dark feelings, and you hope that this song maybe is going to encourage them to go get help.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. If someone is watching right now and they're going through some of these feelings, we're gonna play the video and so people can listen to the song. What do you suggest they do?
Men especially, we tend to withdraw into ourselves, and I think that's the worst thing. If you are afraid of seeing counselors, don't. It's the best thing. And friends, open up to a couple of close friends and let them help you on your journey. They can be the best friend that kind of kicks misery out the door, right? But you need that support. I mean, so many people tend to isolate themselves and withdraw because they don't want to bother other people, or they're embarrassed. But you really do need to reach out.
Yeah. Okay, David, I want to make sure we have time so we can listen to the song and watch the video. But I mean, it's been 7 years since the last Critical Mass release. So it's good to finally have a song out there. It's not the happiest song, as you said, but it is a message of hope.
Exactly. Yeah.
In that it's not it's not the end, but that's not the end of the story. So thank you for sharing a little bit of that, and I guess sharing a bit of your personal experience too, because it takes courage to open up and be vulnerable with what you've gone through. So,
well, thank you very much, and thanks for this opportunity.
Yes, take care. So David Wang, lead singer of the band Critical Mass, and the song that he wrote is called "Misery, My Friend." So let's take a look.
Put the sour in lemonade. You cover the sun just to make it gray, reminding me that I'm underpaid. My life's a bore each day. You always bring the dew chair so that there's no room. You make me feel so old. Can't even see the light ahead. Can't even get out of my bed. No sugarcoating here. Could I be going nuclear? Your darkness, it draws life from me each day. Your shadow walks with me, won't go away. You haunt me, torment me, chip away all my self-respect. My self-esteem is wrecked, my friend. You thunder loud when life's a beach, pushing the prize so it's out of reach. Wishing that I could say farewell. My life's a living hell. Can't even see the light ahead. Can't even get out of my bed. No sugarcoating here. Could I be going nuclear? Your darkness, it draws life from me each day. Your shadow walks with me, won't go away. You haunt me, torment me, chip away all my self-respect. My self-esteem is wrecked, my friend.
And that's all for today. If you're struggling with depression, be sure to tell someone like David Wang suggested. Thank you for writing that song and for sharing it with us. Also, were you familiar with the work of the Loretto Sisters? They do such good work in many areas, not just education. And did you know about the Renewed Hope Conference? Have you attended any online conferences during this time? How was that experience? Tell us about it. Share your comments with us by following Salt and Light Media on all of our social media platforms and commenting with the hashtag #HopeFromHome. If you miss any part of the episode and you'd like to watch it again, you can always visit our website, saltandlighttv.org/hopefromhome. We hope that these stories inspire you to stay positive and remind you that we're all still connected through hope.